Welcome, everyone, to the 93rd episode of That Sewing Blab. We're so happy that you all are joining us tonight because we have a fabulous return. Yay! But I want to talk to you newbies that are just joining us for the first time. Our lovely host for tonight that is sipping on her lovely tea over there is Dawn Pengelly from Duelling Designs. And I'm her co-host, Myra Rentmeester from Simple Inspiration. And that beautiful lady right there, I know some of you know her, if not all of you, because she's been here before and she's fabulous, but we'll get to her in just a moment. As usual, if you have any questions for us, please just go down there to that link where it says ask a question, post your question, and we'll get to it as soon as we can. And for those of you who know that we also replay this live stream on Crowdcast and on YouTube, but we'd really like for you to join us because there's some benefits to joining us live stream. I mean, sometimes we actually have gifts and prizes for our viewers. So you won't get that with the replay. Just remember that. So before I continue blabbing, I know all of you want to hear this beautiful woman that's sitting here with such a gorgeous smile. I'm going to pass it on over to Dawn so she can introduce her.
Yes, as Myra was saying, this is the second time we've had the blessing of being able to interview Johanna Lu. She is fabulous. I really enjoyed the first interview. She was inspiring, knowledgeable, very authentic. That's one thing you definitely notice. We talked about it in the last show as well. And yeah, she just knows her stuff now. Sure, her focus and her expertise might shine in sewing activewear, but you can use the things that she teaches you on YouTube, on her blog, and on her new book. You can use it in all aspects of sewing with knits and even sewing in general. So she is definitely, same as before, one to watch. She's absolutely amazing. We're thrilled that she's on the show. Yay! It's Johanna!
Thank you. What a welcome. How can I recover from this? I hope I will live up to those expectations.
You already have.
Thank you. I should also preface this by it's 1:30 a.m. here in Sweden right now, so I am going on second or third cycle. So I might be a little bit giddy because I'm kind of tired. You get a little bit speedy when you're so tired. But I promise to give it my all.
Well, just you being here with us at 1:30 in the morning there is fabulous. We couldn't appreciate you more. Okay.
Thank you.
So I know we all want to get right into this, and we know that you have released your book, Sewing Activewear. Oh my gosh, this has been a long time coming. There it is.
We'll get a close-up of that. Here you go.
And that's a beautiful cover, by the way. That's your daughter that's on the cover too.
Yes,
with you,
this is I have two daughters, and both are models in the book. And Anja here, she's my youngest daughter. She's turning 16 now in just a few weeks. And she's also the one that takes most of my photos on the blog and also my main videographer. So this has definitely been a family affair. So it was nice to actually put her in front of the camera as well for once. And she's usually behind the camera. So, and a friend of my oldest daughter took the cover pic.
I had to look. I know, I was looking down because she just answered one of my questions. The photos.
It's kind of interesting interviewing someone who's been on the show before, because in the first show we talked a lot about, your sewing origin story. You've been sewing for a long time, how it was through school. It was even interesting learning how in Sweden there is more of an emphasis placed on sewing and craft and things in school than what we're finding sometimes nowadays. So there's this whole exciting backstory, and we don't want to rehash the same things, but I mean, a lot of the things that we talked about are what makes this book kind of extra amazing too, because you have had this epic journey, sewing for, since you were young, blogging for 10 years. We're coming up on your 10-year anniversary.
Wow.
An amazing YouTube channel. So as we were talking about in the green room, this isn't a fly-by-night book. Somebody saw a niche and thought, oh, I'm just going to fill that. She's got so much experience on this topic and is sharing it beautifully and across all mediums. So yeah, Myra's excited, and Alethea was the host the first time that you were on. We were all very excited thinking about your book. And so when it came out, oh my gosh, we were like, yay. And then having seen it, it is everything that I think we imagined and more. Anyone who watches your YouTube channel is so professional. Your videos, they're even the photography on your blog, everything is a very high standard. So it's not surprising that that kind of came across in your book. What initially gave you the idea that you could do something this, well, it's enormous, isn't it? There's a lot that goes into this book, isn't there?
Yeah. Absolutely, it has been tons of work, and I have always been. I think that was what drew me to sewing in the first place as well, because you can always learn new things and improve, and you can sort of just try. Sometimes, you look at a garment, you think that is impossible, and then after a couple of years and trying, you realize, well, now I can do this. I can sew a pair of trousers or a jacket or whatever. And I think it was the same thing about the book, that I was now at the point in my life, both professionally and with my sewing skills, that made it possible. I should also preface to say that I am a former journalist and I work in communication, so I know how to lay out pages, and I do some basic graphic designs. I know at editing. I had all these skills from my professional life, but I had no experience. And I also actually have written books many years ago, because I've written many books because back when internet was like a hip new thing, we wrote books on how to use it. So I wrote best-selling internet guides on how to use the internet in the early 2000s. with text links, obviously, so you had to like type in all the links. So I knew the book process, but I worked with a big publishing company. So for me, I think it was a challenge, and I'm a do-it-yourself by heart. So I figured I do think I could pull it off, and I do think I can pull it off at a level that will be good enough for me, because I didn't want to do something that felt, homemade. I wanted the book to feel like, oh yeah, this has actually been through, a graphic designer and a publishing house, and I was curious, can I actually do this by myself in the corner of the living room? Having a photo studio on the floor in the kitchen. So everything, behind the scenes is kind of messy, but I wanted the book to look really professional, like it's been done in the studio, but the reality is not. So
you accomplished
and
that.
Also thank you. And also the topic, it came to me a couple of years ago, because when I began sewing Activewear, there were only like a couple of older books. There is a Singer book and a Quick Sew book, and there hadn't been any new books for like almost 2 decades. So I definitely saw a need, especially now when so many Activewear patterns are coming out, and more and more fabrics. And since I had been sewing with a lot of especially stretch and knits for quite a while, I had learned a lot of tips that you wouldn't really find in normal sewing books, because I think one problem with a lot of sewing books is they're very basic. They say, sew together 2 pieces using a stretch seam, but they don't really explain what happens when you get skip stitches, what happens when the fabric are stretched out. How do you deal with these things? And I always been really good at asking questions, and I have a lot of local people here where I live as well, who have helped me a lot, mastering how to sew with knits and teaching me all the tricks, and also, of course, being able to learn from people online. And so I figured there's so much information, so much information that that isn't really being told, that I think I could offer, because I had, as you say, I've been doing this for so long, and I made so many mistakes myself, and I have so many struggles. So I felt I can actually do a book, from that perspective, from someone who really wants to make professional result, but is not really sure how to go about it. So that's my approach in this book, helping everyone, to achieve more professional results and more close to ready to wear, which can be a struggle when you're beginning to sew with knits.
Oh my goodness, yes. And I can attest to that, because when I first learned of you, and that was couple of years ago. I remember when I was doing a Activewear challenge for So Much Talent Facebook group, and you, your name popped up right away when I was doing a search because I was trying to find information to share with everybody, and I was leading this challenge, and I was like, so I went to your blog, your YouTube channel, and it was like almost everything was right there that I needed. So it was absolutely amazing. And as you know, I've been a fan of yours ever since. But I was going to purchase your book, which I am going to purchase. I don't have it right now, but I am going to purchase it. But I have a question because I know that you can actually purchase your book on Amazon and on your website. But and I'm an ebook person. I like everything. I have ebook, but I do have some books. The ebook is only purchased on your website, correct? Not on Amazon.
That's true. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was considering, obviously there are two ways of doing ebooks. I mean, you can do it in the Kindle format or the ebook format, and the drawback with that is that the layout, if you're using non-fiction books, sewing books, especially on Kindle, my book is extremely heavy on pictures and graphic design, and that is really hard to mimic in a sort of a Kindle ebook format, which has it's very technical but a flowing format. So at this point right now, I am not doing this. I had thought about it, but I've been buying several sewing books on Kindle, and I feel they are not as good as one with the fixed layout, basically what it's called, what I'm doing. So if you can show Dawn perhaps on the inside how the book looks, so you can understand how it's very, very visual. And
so the one
so that's why
I'm sorry.
So this is the digital book, and as you can see, it's very it has a very intricate layout basically, and that is super hard to transfer to the traditional ebook format.
Well,
so that's why
you said this is the ebook, so this is something that I could actually download on my iBooks, correct?
Absolutely. You can. The book can be done on any ebook reader, and I made it for in an iPad format basically when I'm formatting it. So it works very nice, and I've tried it on all kind of platforms, and it has links, and also some of the the index is clickable, and I also have links. So that's one of the good thing about doing an ebook, because if I refer to a technique on one page, I can just add a clickable link, so you can go straight away to the page where that particular technique is explained in a tutorial. So that's one of the benefits of getting the ebook. And the Amazon.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and the Amazon book is actually print on demand, which means that I don't touch the book. So when you order one, it's printed. So it's a very easy process for me to have international distribution because I don't have to deal with it.
Oh, good.
The drawback is obviously I don't make much money on each book, but I think for me it's worth not having to deal with that part, because I have a full-time job and a life outside of book publishing. So.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, and another reason, because when I went out to Amazon first to purchase it, and that's when I noticed that it wasn't there, and I was like, shoot, because I like having my books digitally. I do have some hardcover books, but most of my hardcovers I've had for years. But I found, since I'm into electronics, that I love the digital versions, because a lot of times when I'm traveling or on vacation and I don't have anything, if I want to catch up on some reading, I have my iPad with me all the time, and I can read my books during those times. And or if I'm helping somebody else and I'm not at my house, and I have a good reference for them, that's something that I can easily show them. So I'm really happy that you did it in that digital format, because I will be going back to the website to get it.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. It's funny, because I had originally planned only to do it in digital format, because I'm just like you, Myra. I've been more and more converting to the digital format. But then people were asking me, saying, oh, we want the print book. So I examined how I could do this. And I would say that for each digital book, I sell about 5 print books. So that is the So they're like 1 in 5 or 1 in 6 actually is only 1 in 6 is a digital book sold. So print is definitely strong when it comes to sewing books.
I would have thought it would have
Still.
been the other way. It's so handy. I've already used your book. I was in the sewing room. I was teaching two people who had never sewn anything how to sew with knits. Okay, come on. I'm taking you to the fabric store for the first time, that whole thing. And I was doing a neck binding. And just like there's a million different ways to do different seams and different techniques. I was going to do it one way, but then, I thought it would be a bit tricky. I look in your book, boom, there's a different way of doing it that I hadn't thought of. That would have been easier for a beginner. They'd still get a gorgeous result. It would still be a good seam around the neck. And it was so easy to teach it to them, whereas teaching them the other way, a bit trickier. They might have got really frustrated. So I think it's fabulous that in your book, you don't only just say, here's the best way to do it. You have many different ways according to what machine you're using. For example, hey, if you're using your sewing machine, try these stitches. If you're using a cover stitcher, if you're using a serger, or just different types of on the same machine. So it's really fabulous. It's kind of I think it's a book that I sat and read it through, but then I also think it's a resource that you'd come back to, like an encyclopedia, oh, I want to do this kind of seam. I need this book. So I do think there was a huge hole in the market, and I'm very happy that you filled it.
Well, that's and it's a great thing too, Dawn, because, there's a lot of talk, and we actually had the book review on one of our shows, which was a massive show. People love their reference books. And I think reference books are awesome, and everybody should have a collection of them. However, now saying that, there's a lot of times when you're just learning how to sew, you refer to those books, and you should learn from them. We all did. But when you refer to those, it's the new stuff, like what Johanna has and others, even some on YouTube, that have the newer tips and tricks that may not be referenced in the older books. So I think we need to use both of them as much as we possibly can, the reference books, YouTube and everything else, and then, do what we all do. But I have to say, you led a great segue into a question for Johanna, and that is, I said Johanna.
I know, you call me whatever.
I know better.
I'm international.
And you're so open and honest. Has that been a problem for you?
It's funny because for me, it's always comes, I think it's my personality. If I feel self-conscious about something, or if I feel something is weighing me down, if I just speak about it, it's just so liberating, because it sort of lifts that dark wheel of my emotions. And that is very true for my private life, as a way to like alleviate angst. And I think for me, it's the same thing about sewing, because I've had situations in the past, when I've done a project and it didn't work out, and I've been, oh man, I had planned to do a blog post about this, but then I'm like, yeah, but this is probably a better story. This is actually in some ways more interesting, than having to, because I suffer from this myself, that I look at some people, especially on Instagram, and I'm like, how did this even happen? Like, is it like for real? I mean, when you're like, and you get envious, and you get like, oh man, why can't I be this good? And I've been sewing for so long. But then I just figure out, but I can be the voice of those who still struggle sometimes. And it's not always perfect. I mean, I'm very detail oriented, and I always try to make my makes, very good about the stitching and the seams. But even so, I mean, I've been sewing for almost 35 years now. I still have these mishaps, happening, and talking about those, I think it sort of makes sewing less mysterious, because I think especially when you're starting out and you have this idea of your garment, it will look so pretty, and when you start sewing, it usually won't look as good as you had perhaps hoped, and then you look at other people and you think, how do they do it? And I'm here to tell you that it's a constant journey. We are all, you know, learning and trying and failing, learning and trying and failing. And so you shouldn't like look at us who has been sewing for so long and think that this is some unachievable goal, because we're all here together, you know, learning new stuff all the time. I mean, I learn so much still, you know, and that's my perspective on that. That's why I think it's important for me to be honest. And also, as I said, it's very liberating for me to address things in such a settings, because I don't want to be that person who is afraid to show my mistakes in some way. As I mean, obviously, I have a lot of knowledge and I am sharing that. So I don't want to like, but I don't want to feel that even though I do share my expertise, I don't want to seem inhuman. I mean, I want to, it's
easier to relate to someone who you're like, oh, I've done that too. Like your videos, you had one on stuff I dread sewing and mistakes I've made in sewing. And like when you watch those, you're like, oh, I so know how she feels. So yeah, it doesn't make you feel so far above that, oh, I can't sew activewear because I mean everything she makes is gorgeous. She never makes any mistakes. Like, oh, this is too intimidating, because a lot of people are intimidated by using those fabrics. You're like, she gave it a go. She's saying just try it. She made mistakes, but you know, most of her stuff is so gorgeous. I'm gonna do that, you know. So I do think it's great. You don't get caught in the Instagram everything look perfect trap. You are very authentic, and it's very easy to see from all your videos and things. Yeah, it's fantastic.
And that's so funny you said that too, because when Johanna was talking, I was thinking about one of the her blog posts, and I think it might have been a YouTube video that she did, and you made this, I think it was a navy warm-up jacket, and it had a little bracket up on top, and she had the cover that was something, and my heart went out to her because I've been there and I know how that is. But I told her, I said, I love that jacket I think that's cute. I love that. If you're going to get rid of it, send it over to me.
I should give you the backstory. What happened was the dreaded serger slice up thing happened.
Yeah.
So I was just about to be finished with the top, and then I slipped with the serger and just cut through the zipper and the fabric and the facing. And I've been spending like days, you know, so many different details, and I just and I was like sitting up 2 o'clock in the night trying to save it and just making it worse. But again, I felt, you know, I was like, oh my God, what have I done? And then I thought, okay, I'm just going to decide to save it and then talk about it in a video. And because it happens to everyone.
Now, did you decide to save it? Did you decide that it's okay for you to wear it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now, you know, because it's so funny. Because when I do a mistake, you know, all I can see is like a huge hole, or it's so, you know, it's like ugly and I hate it and I just want to throw it away and just forget about it, and I feel like a failure. And then if I just leave it and then I look up at it, but it wasn't that bad, was it? So I need to get the perspective. So it's you know, it's sometimes I get so carried away, and I'm sure some of you can relate in that, because you're like, oh my God, what have I done? And then you're like, hey, but you know, it looks fine.
Well, yeah, I can definitely relate. And I put mine, sometimes I feel like when I do that, I need to stop putting them up so much, because you know, is that all you do is make mistakes, Myra? But the last one that I remember I did really bad was I was working on something for a wedding, and I had some leggings. I had just finished them up, and I thought it was great, but I had them underneath something that I was cutting, and cut right through the thigh leg of my completed leggings. And I couldn't believe it. I sat there and I wanted to cry for a few minutes, but I said, you know what? I'm just going to show it. And I did. I showed it to the ladies. I was periscoping and I said, this is what happened. So yes, that honesty is a big thing to show, especially the newbies who are concerned about their stuff not looking perfect. We all have been there and still there. You just keep plugging away. Right, Johanna?
Totally. I agree with everything you say, Myra. Absolutely. And that's the message that I think we should help spreading across to everyone, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, it happens and we learn from it. It's all part of the process.
Now, we probably asked you this question last time you were here, but in a different way, I want to ask this question. And that's it. You mentioned, and we know that you are a full-time worker, you're a mom, you have a blog, YouTube, and now you publish yet another book. And I think you had like 5 before. But how do you balance all of this?
Oh man, that's such a tough question, because I wish I had like some peppy answer, but I have the secret, but I don't. But I do think I should say that I do think I have some tips, and that is that I'm very good at structuring things. So I sort of break down tasks into mini tasks, because if you, for instance, with the book, if you just think about, the big project, you will never stop because it's so overwhelming. So instead, I just wrote down, okay, I will do this little chapter here and this chapter there, and then I will work on this, and on Saturday I'll take photos for that chapter. So you're just sort of doing one thing at a time. And also, I've been really like, when it comes to finding time, I've been sort of really examining my life and what I sort of waste time on, and what I can, what sort of time that I find useful. So I also, I mean, I love sharing sewing. I love sewing. So for me also, I think if you really love something, you usually find the time for it. And that's very true, I think, for sewing, as it's a relief. But definitely being very structured and setting specific goals and finding like a routine for everything. So I am quite strict with my planning, because, it doesn't happen by itself. I mean, it is a lot of hard work. I mean, it might look easy, the end product, but it's definitely a lot of work. And also it comes with practice. I think just like sewing, when I began doing videos, I was so spent, after one video, especially trying to also speak English, that I couldn't do it for a month because I was so mentally drained. And now I'm at the point where I can actually film 3 videos back to back on one day. So I have like a library of videos. So I don't shoot videos every week. Instead, for the last 2 weekends, I've actually been recording 6 videos spread over 2 days. So now I have like a big batch of videos, so I don't really have to stress so much about it. And the same for blog posts. Also, I try to use my time. For instance, I've been traveling for work, so I came back to my hometown this evening, because I'm in Stockholm, the capital of Sweden, and so on the train. And I, instead of reading perhaps a book, I just sit with my laptop and crank out the blog posts. So I try to make use of that kind of time as well, for creation. So yeah, it's just finding those pockets of time. I think that's really important, and see what you can do with those, because little small steps goes a long way. I mean, I don't perhaps, I'm not always able to finish. I can, write a couple of sentences at least, so that will be easy the next time I return to it. So that's also one way of keeping the content going, so to speak.
Those are great tips. Those are awesome tips. Wow.
You mentioned the batching your video recording before, and the last time we interviewed you, and I took that to heart. So like you might have the same hairdo in 3 videos. You'll have a different piece of clothing on. So yeah, you gave me lots of really good tips last time that I didn't think about. How it does. It takes a weight off you, because some days you might not want to get all dressed up or even look presentable. You want to stay in your pajamas. So if you can batch it and do things in chunks, it's very handy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Absolutely. And you're also in the mindset already, doesn't, because if you're doing one at a time, you have to go in that mental state, and that can be quite exhausting to go back and forth. And I think it's the same with blog posts as well. If you start writing a blog post, you're getting in a flow, it's usually quite easy to crank out a second one as well when you're just doing it, starting all over. So that's really, I think, it's a useful tip. And also, because I have so many ideas, I can record videos that are similar. So for instance, if when I'm sitting at my sewing desk, videos of these, and the next week that requires a different kind of setup. So I try to make those similar videos at the same time, basically, just as you say, changing the shirt. And then I try to curl my hair a little bit too, because my hair is really straight. And usually the first video is kind of curly, and then it sort of gets more and more straight as the shooting goes on.
Yeah, I was just going to double check. It seems like your voice is breaking up for me. So I asked in the audience if anyone else had that issue, and someone said it.
Okay.
I thought if it's still happening, maybe we could get you to refresh quickly, because sometimes that clears up the problems. So if you refresh your screen, and fingers crossed we don't lose you, that would be the worst thing ever. But but then maybe that'll get rid of the sound issues, because yeah, I really want to hear what you say.
Okay, I'm refreshing now, right?
Yeah, thank you. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's over.
Yeah, Alethea, I thought it was me. And Alethea interviewed her with me last time, and we had some sound issues halfway through as well. So I was like, oh no, here we go again.
Yeah.
But you know, I find Johanna like very inspirational.
Yes.
The last time I interviewed her, I got lots of tips from her, lots of even just support when we were doing the tests. Yeah, so I've been very excited about this interview. So let's hear, does the sound better?
Hopefully. Am I still cracking up? Oh, good.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Right.
Okay, this book, we need to talk more about this book, because it is absolutely amazing, because I love how you laid it out. I mean, it's not that just that all your photos are very good. There's photos for everything you could possibly imagine you'd need, of the fabrics themselves, of each of the different techniques. I must have taken you forever. Like I can't even imagine, but it is an absolutely amazing book. So how long did it take you from like start to finish?
I began sketching and outlining the book in April of 2016. So that gives you an idea. And it was published in December of 2017. And I wasn't obviously working on it day and night. I mean, as I have a day job, and I had phases where I work more intensely with it. But yeah, it took a lot of time. And I also kept expanding, you know. I wanted to cover more and more things, but in the end, because the book is almost 200 pages as it is, I decided to put a cap on it. But someday I want to make a sequel, because I have so many more things that I want to cover. So
She just answered.
Yeah, you know, I mean, obviously now I'm super stressed, tired from the last project. Yeah, but I want to make more sewing books if I can, and have the energy. I've been bitten by it. So, and it's Dawn, that you're saying this, that you appreciate all the work, because I really wanted to make a good sewing book, and also I'm in a position myself, because on my blog I've been reviewing a lot of sewing books over the years. So I definitely didn't want to be the person, you know, who came with this subpar book that everyone was like, oh, she could have done better.
I don't think anybody's going to be saying that.
Yeah. No. So I was, you know, I really want to make sure that I didn't sort of open myself up for those kind of like things that perhaps isn't a good sewing book in my own opinion. But so yeah, definitely, I definitely had that in the back of my mind, you know.
You weren't the food critic who couldn't cook. You were definitely you brought it. You were killing it in the whole book. I particularly love because it's got so much good information, but you also have these little inserts with people from the community who do so with Activewear. Very fabulous people, and just a variety of people, and from different points of views, pattern makers, not pattern makers, more coats, less coats. So it was just really neat, like that you did that. It must have been fun getting all the answers back, because you essentially almost interview them about sewing in Activewear.
Yeah, that was amazing. And I mean, I reached out to a lot of people, and I pretty much everyone said yes. I think I only got like 1 or 2 no's. So that was amazing. And it took a lot of research as well, because as you say, I was really mindful about having a good variety of people coming from different walks of life. I mean, obviously some professionals, people like Jali and and Beverly Johnson of bra makers, and people who have this as their professional career, and other people who are just sewing for their own joy. And I wanted to, because going back to what I said previously also, that, you know, it's just not I mean, I've learned a lot of things from other people, and I didn't want this book to just be my voice. I wanted to give other people their a place and platform to share their best tips about sewing activewear as well. So it wasn't like, I think it's really important to have a diversity also in voices, because as you said earlier also, Dawn, that we have so many ways of approaching sewing, and I don't want to be that person who says that you should do it like this because this is the true way, because it's so different. That's why, for instance, I have like four different ways to finish a neckline binding, because I know we all have different machines, we have different sewing styles, different skill sets. So I want, you know, the book to everyone to be able to find something that is useful, even whether you're a beginner or you're an advanced sewer. So, and that is also part of my interview idea. And I don't even remember exactly when I came up with the idea, but it came quite early, because I was starting to feel like, why should just I talk about sewing activewear? Because there's so many other people around knowing so much that I can't explain and bring. So, and then I just realized it would give such a great rhythm to the book. You know, it's like, instead of splicing, I mean, just having like a compact information page after page, I think it provides a nice break in the book. And also, I mean, as I said, I'm a former journalist, so interviewing people has been my way of making a living for many years. So it felt kind of natural in that way too. And I don't think that's when I thought about it, it's not usually something you see in sewing books. So it's like a mix between a magazine and a sewing book, basically. And
that's a really good way of putting it. Yes. That it's a mix between the two. It is in a way, but then it's also you give some patterns, essentially patterns. You know, like at the end, like Myra with the fingerless finger sleeves, thumb hole, the extra pocket. I mean, so it's kind of, I think personally, I mean, the fact that you could do it in PDF is brilliant, but I mean, you have more than just techniques. It's not just an encyclopedia of how to do it. Like you said, it's like that. It's like a magazine. It's got some patterns in it. It's so I don't know if we can use the word book anymore. We're gonna have to come up with a new term for what you've created, Johanna.
I was actually going about, you know, what it would like to be like, being able to have video tutorials in the book, but that would make the file too big, you know, basically for distribution. But it would have been super cool, right? To have this mix of text and images and video, and, you know, I think that's the future for sure.
Oh, definitely. And I see you doing that too.
Remember where you heard it first.
And you already answered one of my questions when I said, would there be another book? There's a possibility. But I wanted to ask you, what is the biggest lesson that you learned while writing this book? Your biggest lesson?
When it comes to the book process, it's being patient, and keep the eye on the goal, and not being giving up, basically. You know, just take a little bit at a time and just focus. And also when it comes to sewing, I think my biggest revelation was how important it is to really explain things. As I said, maybe I over-explain, I don't know, but I think it's really important to be thorough and not just, I think sometimes we simplify a bit too much. And I think sometimes we need to explain very thoroughly things when it comes to sewing. And that was something that I kind of realized during the process, that I felt that there were many things that I wanted to share, very detailed, specific things. For instance, you know, how to troubleshoot your cover stitch machine. I talk a lot about that, because that is something that we all have problems with who owns a cover stitch machine, that it doesn't really do the way we want to do the machine. And you have high hopes. You have high hopes that, you know, you have this new gleaming machine, and then you start sewing over tricky fabrics, and, you know, it's like, exactly. So that's one of the things that I was really wanted to have in this book, you know, to talk about those stuff too, and not just say this is how you sew a cover stitch seam, but this is how you do when the cover machine acts up and being a moody bugger.
Yeah, you need to come over and talk to mine.
Yeah, we can have some therapy. We can have some group therapy.
Yes, absolutely.
No, but yeah, to answer your question, Myra, that was one of the things that I how important it felt, at least for me, to really be and share as much as I possibly have inside of me, and really, diving deep. And also, this has also been a learning process for myself. I mean, I have improved my skills a lot during this process as well. Doing sewing samples, for instance. I mean, when you're doing samples in a sewing book, they can't look like
Yeah.
that wouldn't be very motivational or aspirational. So
what was you thinking?
This is how you should do it, not.
Exactly. Let's see. Oh, was there anything after you finished the book, and maybe that's what made you say, yes, you're thinking about another book. Was there anything after you published the book that you went, darn, I could have included that in the book?
Yeah, it happens every day. Yeah, and also, there are a couple of typos as well. I mean, obviously, it's a long process and a lot of words, and those things definitely. And I can think maybe I should have used a different thread for that project, and but I feel also that I can take that learning experience to the next book, and also when it comes to the self-publishing process, which is also a lot of things to figure out. Mm-hmm. I think now I can take all my knowledge and my mistakes from this project and use it for the next one. So absolutely.
Now, your book is actually out there, but you were, to me, I think, famous before your book came out. Have you gotten questions on your YouTube channel or blog about things that are in your book?
Yeah, I've actually, I mean, obviously, I wouldn't say I'm not very known, to be honest, but I mean, no, thank you. I mean, I think in the sewing community, I am a bit of a small character. I'm short, and I live in a country far away from many others. But definitely, absolutely, I've got a lot of overwhelming responses, and that has also, because I have to admit that even though I really, put all in this book and really want to make it as good as possible, I was still super nervous about the reception and how people will actually find it. And I've gotten so much great feedback from people, and they leave comments on my YouTube channel, they email me, and they comment on Instagram or whatever, obviously. I'm everywhere. Sometimes I feel like, and having that validation, it means so much to me. Everyone who takes the time to comment and say, I tried this tip. For instance, I have a Swedish sewing friend that I've met online, but I've also met in real life, and she just bought the book the other day, the digital version, because she was about to finish a neckline binding on an activewear top. And she was like, oh, good. And then she posted and was like, yeah, thank you so much, for showing me this and show the picture, because I wasn't sure how to do it. And, it just came out so much better than I'd hoped it would be. And, having that kind of feedback and response, that's like the best thing you could ever hope for. Feeling like you helped someone to succeed with what they wanted. That's like the best feeling ever.
Oh goodness, yes. Well, I'm sure you're going to hear that a whole lot more. A whole lot more. It's been really wonderful, and I can't wait to get my hands on that book. I honestly can't wait. So.
And you have a website that goes with it as well, for people, the Sewing Activewear website. Well, it's kind of like a part of your website. And it's great there. I mean, you even have like a buying list, big list of sellers. There's activewear patterns that you suggest. So yes, if you go to the laststitch.com, you'll find links to it, but it's the laststitch.com/sewing activewear. And then you can find at the top, that's where you buy the book. You can find the buying activewear fabrics, because I do think, like, and you mentioned that in your book, which is fabulous. Like when you're buying things to the fabrics that you need and the tools that you need, you do mention that in your book. But fabrics, like, you never know what you're going to get. And with you using your book, talking about exact weights and stretches and all that stuff, it's fabulous. So definitely check out the website. I have it right here. That's why I'm doing it over here. Check out the website so that you can see all these fantastic things. Because, yeah, if you want to give this a go, like for the person who's just starting out, it can be very intimidating knowing what fabric to buy, what tool to use. So definitely with this little part of your website, as well as your YouTube channel and your book, I honestly believe anyone who has never sewn, anyone who's not sewn activewear before, can make a very fantastic, professional looking pair of tights, top, whatever. I mean, it's got everything you need there. So check it out, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, most definitely. Yeah, she's giving us a little bit of her brain in that to help us out. So we need to use it. My goodness. Now, we're actually at almost getting close, and we have one question. If any of you have questions or want to come online and ask Johanna a question specifically, please feel free to do so. Just let us know in the comment section. I'm sorry.
Mandy just said in the side there, it wasn't a question, but that she appreciates that there is that part of her website, because that was one of the questions she was going to ask. Because I think it's great. Like, you're in Sweden, and it's not just for Sweden. This is awesome. This is a great resource set, and it looks like people appreciate it. Crystal would like to try coming on again. She tried to come on last week, but couldn't quite get her on because she has a question for you. So she'd like to come on and ask.
Okay.
So we'll try to invite her on. While I'm inviting her on, I would love to hear, because I mean, last time we asked you, what are you doing next? You said, I'm thinking about writing a book, and bam, it's done. So what are you thinking for the future? Another book, anything else?
Yeah, I definitely want to make another book, and I actually have ideas for 3 different books, but I need to space them out, because otherwise I will suffer for a big burnout and probably not be able to do any books anymore. But I have 2 things that I want to do this year, and first of all, I want to do like a proper e-course, a video course, something actively related, step by step.
Yeah. That's right. We'll just
hi.
Mute
Crystal.
Crystal until you're done talking, because I think she's talking to someone else for a second.
Okay.
Sorry. So you wanted?
Did it come up?
Okay. We can't see you, Crystal, but we can.
I don't know why.
Yeah, sorry.
We can hear you.
Can you see me now?
No, sorry, Crystal. I know I don't normally have the problem where you can hear someone and not see them.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is your camera covered or your camera not on, possibly?
It's on. It's on. Let me see. The other program. Let's see.
When you're trying to sort that out for a second, we'll just finish that. Oh, sorry, the last question. You're hoping to do a video course?
Yeah, doing a video course you can buy about some sewing activewear garment. I'm toying around with a couple of different ideas, but I think I'm pretty much set now. So that would be something I want to do, like a high quality multimedia e-course. So there will be obviously video instructions, but also booklets and things included, so you can use like PDF files as well. So this is a big project, so I might not be able to finish it this year, but I will definitely do an e-course, because I think there's a lot of value in being able to show in a movement setting as well, and not just in pictures. So, and also I've been thinking a little bit about perhaps doing some accessories patterns, hats, and I've done a couple of workout hats, and then perhaps bands. I'm just sort of very loosely saying ideas here, because it's nothing definite, but it's something I'm thinking about to do that as well, just doing a little bit of a mini. I would love to someday launch a pattern line, but as it's such an intense amount of work. I mean, I just listened to Heather from Cross the Case Patterns, your interview with her just the other day, and I mean, it's mad respect, that work that goes into each pattern and all the testing and stuff. It's like I wouldn't do that myself. I would definitely need to have some professional doing a lot of that work as well. I would not pull that project off by myself. But hats off to everyone who does it, because I'm just blown away. Yeah.
That's kind of where I'd like to aim for myself to be. I have patterns and I went to school for it and everything, but just listening to her after the show last week, I was like, oh my gosh, I know I have all this checklist of all the things I have to do in order to release the pattern that but oh my gosh, it is like overwhelming. But I think even though it's a lot of work, we would all love any pattern that you would put out there. So
yes.
Just saying that. Maybe we'll check in, hopefully. We can see Crystal. If not, maybe she can ask her question in person. Are you there, Crystal?
Yeah.
Oh, no, we can't see you, but I'm very happy that we could at least hear you. Did you want to ask your question about the cover stitch machine?
Oh, we lost her again, I think.
Hi!
Hi, Crystal. Nice to see you finally.
I just wanted to say, I have a cover stitch machine. I got it secondhand, and but so I never took a class, but like I keep getting it. I don't know if you can see it, the tunneling.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, do you cover that in your book? Because I was thinking about getting your book, but I don't really sew activewear, but I do knits. So
You know, I don't cover. Okay, I'm not having. I don't cover tunneling specific, but I can get. Obviously, there are a couple of different things. One is a tension issue, and also if you're sewing very close to the edge, and perhaps one of the rows will be outside the fold, and sewing just single layer, and the second row of stitches or double layer, that will create a kind of that tunneling effect. There are ways to remedy it. You can, for instance, you can try to use spray starch on it, and that will keep it flat. So you just wash that away, or you can use wash away stabilizer. And it's just on some kind of fabrics you will get tunneling, and on other fabrics you won't. It's usually the thinner fabrics that will create this tunneling effect. So, but if you also, I just want to give you some encouragement. If you go and look at ready to wear, and you will actually find that it's not uncommon for them having tunneling as well. So I would definitely say on some fabrics, you won't be able to avoid it 100%, but just tampering a little bit with the needle and the loop tension, using some kind of stabilizer, and also perhaps trying to make sure that the needle hits both layers of fabric, you will definitely make this less of an issue. Hope that helps.
I would too, Crystal.
I just see the design element, so. But I'm gonna go exactly.
I have tunneling. I have tunneling. I just sewed a dress in a thin wool jersey, and it was impossible to avoid tunneling because it's so thin. But I just let it be.
Okay.
No.
Wear it with pride.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We've done it, and we should be proud of ourselves. And as I said, we should go out and check, ready to wear garment, and that will usually boost our own confidence, because we have so high standards for our own personal sewing. It's insane. And then you go out and look how a garment might look inside on some, and we can do it just as well and better. So we need to to pat ourselves on the shoulder for doing fantastic work.
So there you are. Go and wear it.
Thank you so much, Crystal.
Thank you for asking.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thanks, Crystal.
Thanks,
All right,
Crystal.
bye-bye.
It's just a little echoey when she was on, but it was fabulous to finally get her on. It was lovely to meet her. And you can see, just like that, Johanna had an answer for her. And again, while she was talking, I was quickly looking through the book, and it's there's close-up pictures. I'll just really super quick, sorry, make sure I'm on the right screen. It's not hard to see, is what I'm saying. You can see exactly where the needle is. You can see what she's doing. You can see the
yeah.
tricks and tips, and how to, like, for example, this page is how to secure cover stitch seams. Yeah, it's a fabulous book, especially if you are a little nervous about some of those things. So just try to shrink that back down again.
I'm excited.
But,
yeah.
yeah.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Like I said, I literally used it straight after I got it, and I can see it's going to be a major reference book for me. So I'm thrilled. Linda Faye Lewis, or Faye from Faye Sewing Adventure, is a fabulous blogger. She is lovely. And she says she looks forward to your weekly Sunday YouTube videos, the live or pre-recorded. Yeah. So I have noticed you've started doing live ones. How are you finding that?
Oh, I love it. I loved it. I was so nervous beforehand, but it's so much fun because it's so interactive. Because I was worried, how can I sort of just speak by myself for an hour? But I've had such lively chat going on, and people are answering each other's questions, and I just love the format, and it just, and people, I can ask things that I'm unsure about, and people will tell me and give their tips. So it's been wonderful. It's definitely a bit mentally exhausting because I do it quite late at night here before I go to bed on Sunday. But I am been overwhelmed by people showing up. Faye, and she's wonderful. I love you, Faye. You're such a great inspiration, and you're like a sewing maven. It's very talk about inspirations, and you're one of mine.
Yes, I think she's one of almost all of us.
Like a goddess.
Yeah, I've actually been only able to catch the replays of your live. I have to catch a live one because when I watch the replays, the questions, and she's right, the questions that they're asking, what's going back and forth, I mean, you can go on forever with that because they're asking really great questions, and the chat seems really wonderful. So, yeah, I'm going to have to catch a live one myself.
Yeah, I'm doing one later this month, and the topic will actually be pattern making because speaking about pattern design, but that is actually something that I have a degree in because I have actually studied pattern making, not full time, but like evening schools and some fashion designs. And I've been drafting my own pattern for quite a few decades, and I would say that about 50% of the garments I make are patterns that I've drafted myself. So I figured I should talk about my journey with this and share tips. So that will be the topic for the next. You get an exclusive first to know. Yeah,
I don't want to miss that.
Not this Sunday, but next Sunday will be my live stream if I don't get sick or something, because life is you can't give too many promises. Yeah.
Yes. I think it's very interesting when you were talking about doing your live streaming. You didn't just say that you answer other people's questions. You said that sometimes if you don't know how to do something, that you ask people who are watching. And I think that goes back to what we were talking about before, about you being very authentic, and you're not just trying to gloss over and make everything look perfect. Well, except for your book, that's perfect. But I mean, on your YouTube channel, on your blog, you don't just you show behind the scenes of the last stitch. I think that's another fabulous example of that, Johanna, like how you're not afraid to say, I don't know. You're not afraid to ask other people, because I think sometimes they can be intimidating. If you write a book, shouldn't you know everything? Like, come on, So I can't believe I've missed those live shows myself, Myra. I can't wait to watch them.
They're probably very early in Canada, I suspect, because it's I think it would be, I don't know, it would be like let me see if I say this right, 12. Oh my God, my math is horrible. Sorry.
It is the middle of the night there. You're allowed to have a slow math brain, isn't it? Like
2 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern time in North America. Yeah.
I'm out of bed by then.
I hope so.
It's so tricky about the time conversions. I mean,
definitely.
We live in a different time zones, definitely. So yeah. It's super fun. I would love, I mean, if you would come with the pattern make, that would be awesome, because you can contribute so much as well in the chat, because that's a good thing. And I have people, and I have this amazing guy, Howard. He's like 75 or almost 80, and he's been like sewing for over 50 years, and he's really lively in the chat. So, and also cool thing, I mean, obviously, in a lot of communities, it's very the women are dominating, but actually, fun in my chats, there are a lot more guys. I mean, compared to other sewing channels, so that's really fun too. So it's a big variety of people. Yeah.
Oh, it's exciting. Well, I guess we're all gonna, meet back there on Sunday.
Yeah, see you on Sunday. Next Sunday, not this one.
Next Sunday.
Yeah, come hang out. Let's continue this party. We can go on for 10 days.
Except I can be in my pajamas in my pajamas while you're on camera. That sounds good.
Yeah, so you can just sit back, relax, and let me worry about the technique and keeping the show going. Now, just sit there and be cool and share your knowledge. Yeah. So I would love to see you there, Myra and Dawn, if you want. It would be super fun.
I'll be there. I'll definitely. I'm putting it in my calendar as soon as we're done here. But I just have one more quick question. I know we're kind of over, but you mentioned that you do a lot of your pattern drafting. Is it mostly the activewear or just anything?
Anything, yeah. Because I had to when I began sewing in the late 80s, there wasn't much pattern available, especially in Sweden, and it was a lot of pattern companies. They were folding because it was like a recession when it comes to sewing. So I had to learn, in order to create the things that I wanted to make, I had to learn draft my own patterns. If I had started sew today, with all the fantastic independent pattern companies, there's so much variety. I mean, just talk about closet case patterns, not files, closet case patterns. Yeah. I mean, her stuff is like so fantastic, and that was the sort of things that wasn't available back when. So that's why I and also because I'm very much I enjoy dreaming up things and designs as much as I enjoy sewing them. So for me, being able to draft a complete design from start to finish is very fulfilling for me when it comes to my creativity. So it's not just that I can't find what I want, it's also I so much enjoy being able to do something exactly. So I often end up doing a lot of hacks on the pattern that I'm sewing, the commercial patterns as well, because I have very specific design ideas for pretty much everything I do. And activewear, I do draft a lot of myself. So all the outfits on the cover is I've drafted myself.
Wow.
Ooh, that's good.
That's awesome.
If McCall's knocked on your door and said, "Hey, we'd like you to do some patterns," would you say sure, or are you more keen to try to indie it yourself?
If they call, I will say higher. I'm in. Yeah, because just going back to the fact that being a do-it-yourself does have its limitation, and I'm not that person who would say no to an opportunity of having skilled people on board on a project and not having to learn everything myself, because I want to make sure that everything. But obviously, the drawback of working with a big company is perhaps you lose a lot of control as well, and I'm a bit of a control freak when it comes to quality standards and everything. So that will be probably an issue, but yeah, I think I would say yes. Hi, McCall, call me. Like, who is this Swedish person who has no social media presence?
You never know. This may happen.
I think they want bigger numbers than I have.
I don't know.
I think I have something to offer them.
We should all email McCalls. Hey, McCalls. Oh, that's fabulous. So, no, I would definitely buy one of your patterns. So, who knows what you're going to do in the future? We know you're unstoppable because, as Myra and I were saying before, Myra said that's exactly it. I said she's killing it on her blog, on YouTube, her book. Everything is so professional, so detailed, yet easy to follow. I mean, it's just right across the board. So, yeah, McCalls, what are you thinking? Come on, right here.
Jeez.
Oh, goodness me. But we are a little bit over time. So I think we should end it.
Get her to bed.
Yeah, I think we should end it with, picture I've never sewn any activewear before. What would you say to me? Because I don't want to sew activewear. It's too scary. What do I do? What advice do you have for that person?
Yeah, I think first of all, pick an easy project and don't be lured by too complicated styles. So, for instance, if I want to make a pair of activewear and want to have leggings, for instance, I would definitely do leggings, simple one seams leggings. So there is no seam on the outside, there's just seam on the inside, and just make sure that you will achieve good fit. And another tip also, because don't trust the pattern, because you have your own unique measurements, and that is so true for activewear as well. So if you have a pair of leggings that you have bought in the store that fits you well, you should measure the crotch length, you should measure how wide it is around the bum, around the waist, and then alter that pattern to make sure that it has the same measurement. So don't just sew straight away without checking with something you already have in your wardrobe that fits, because that will just remove so many disappointments later on. So I would never start with a pair of leggings. And if I know, obviously now there are a lot of really super cool, intricate leggings designs patterns. I mean, McCall's and Yali and several different brands, they have so cool designs. But instead, I would say if you're a beginner, don't do that design with 8 different pieces, because it's so much more difficult to order as well. Instead, just buy some really cool, fun fabric with a nice print, and you will have stand-up leggings that looks totally unique, but they were actually very simple to make. So that would be my for beginner advice.
Good.
Absolutely.
Good.
And it's so easy. You finish them in an evening, so it's a very instant satisfactory product as well, and you will wear them a lot.
Great tip.
Fantastic tip. I think that's something that a lot of us do, though. When you first start, you see what everyone else is doing out there, and you might try to do something that's too, I don't know, too above your skill level. So I do think that's good. Choose a simple pattern to start. And you're right, fabrics, you could choose a fabric that will make it look unique. It doesn't need to be just pure black if you don't want to. Fantastic advice. And for lots more advice, remember, you can find her on her blog. You can find her on YouTube. You can find the book, which is amazing. And if you missed out, if you go to her blog, there is a link to the podcast she was on today. So I've just totally blanked on the name of it, even though I just listened to it.
Love to sew.
We love to sew. Yeah, we love to sew.
Yeah.
And that is a great interview. I have to say, hats off to those ladies. They are amazing. We tried to cover slightly different things, but I mean, they covered so much and did it beautifully. So check out that podcast, because you really can't have enough Johanna in your day. That's just, my opinion.
And I agree.
Oh my God,
that opinion.
my ego is expanding in this room.
And our job is done, right?
Yes, and next week we have Vanessa from the Crafty Gemini. So please make sure to stop back and check that out. And then the week after, there's a hashtag going around, Sewing Makes You Love Yourself, SMYLY 2018. And the ladies from that are going to come on. And we're hoping that also some of the people who've made some things for that tag will also be coming on. So lots of very exciting stuff coming up on the show. So please join us live if you can. And if not, remember, we're on YouTube. So thanks again, Johanna.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. Thank you for everyone in the chat as well. I've seen all your messages and it was super fun, and I would love to see you again. And thank you for a wonderful evening.
Thank you for joining us. Okay, you guys, with that said, we're going to let Johanna go ahead and get her some rest, some much and well-deserved rest, I'm sure. But we want to thank you all again for joining us here on That Sewing Blab, and we hope to see you all again next week, Tuesday at 7:30. Good night, everyone. Good night, Johanna.
Thank you.
Good night, Johanna.